The sword, a close-range traditional weapon that has been crafted and perfected for thousands of years. It's fast, lightweight, reliable, and in the right hands, it can be very deadly. The gun, a modern weapon with a lot of customization, and I mean a lot. It's effective at all ranges and can be tailored to fit the occasion. But what about a yo-yo? Listen, I thought I've seen it all when it comes to fighting games. Decades of different franchises producing games with these sizable rosters. There's bound to be some similarities between characters, right? Sometimes you can even see it in the same game. But there are a few characters that stand out from the rest, whether it's because of their looks, personality, or more importantly, the way they fight. Weapons in fighting games aren't anything particularly new, especially the first two I mentioned, swords and guns. Although we see them all the time, there are ways to make them seem cooler because they don't necessarily have to work like they do in real life. For example, you can make the gun have multiple forms, or give the sword elemental powers. Ultimately, the function is still the same, so seeing them all the time can be boring. But today we're going to look at something new. We're going to look at weapons that you rarely see in fighting games. Some of these aren't conventionally used as weapons, but I guess anything can be a weapon if you try hard enough. If you want to see more videos like this, then make sure to subscribe. It helps the channel out, and you can unsubscribe later if you don't like the video. Guilty Gear is basically the king when it comes to unique characters. It's actually what got me into Strive other than the really amazing visuals. This video could honestly just cover Guilty Gear characters if I wanted it to, but I'm gonna pick the ones that I think are the most interesting. So don't get mad at me if I don't mention a character you expected to be on this list, there's just way too many. As you saw in the intro, Bridget, who was just recently added to Strive, basically has a weaponized yo-yo. It does everything a normal yo-yo does, except for the fact that it can literally kill you. What makes the yo-yo really interesting from a gameplay perspective is how unique your game plan is because of it. What I mean by this is that most characters emulate an archetype that revolves around one main characteristic that sort of defines it. For example, a rushdown character like Giovanna is centered around getting up close and constantly barraging the opponent with attacks. A zoner like Axel Low is the most effective at keeping the opponent out with long-range moves. But with Bridget, not only can you use the yo-yo at long range, you have a plethora of moves to keep your opponent blocking. And on top of that, you can throw the yo-yo as a projectile and have it stay in place, allowing for all sorts of setups. This move is what actually allows you to turn from a zoner into a rushdown character, because that move allows you to sort of fling yourself towards the yo-yo, and it closes the gap pretty fast. So yeah, your game plan is kind of all over the place. Another character also in Strive with an unorthodox weapon is Gold Lewis. According to his lore, he's the Secretary of Defense for the United States, and for some reason his weapon of choice is a coffin from Area 51 that contains an alien. You know, you would think the Secretary of Defense would carry a gun. Oh. Ironically enough, most of Gold Lewis's moves don't even involve the alien. Only a couple of them do. Most of it is just the coffin itself. The alien seems to be able to materialize anything it wants since it can give Gold Lewis a flying bomb, and also during his taunt animations, he brings out various items to troll him. So I can understand why most of the moves don't involve the alien, since it would probably be too OP. Gold Lewis's archetype is a bruiser. He's not necessarily fast, but he hits hard and pressures you with big attacks. Perhaps the funniest thing about Gold Lewis, and shout out to the person at Arc System Works who came up with this, but Gold Lewis doesn't believe in aliens or ghosts. Yes, you heard me right. The man carrying a coffin with an alien inside doesn't believe in aliens.
Aliens? Don't be ridiculous.
He calls them UMAs, unidentified mysterious animals. The key word there being animal and not alien, meaning he thinks they come from Earth. You can see this with some of the intro and victory interactions he has with other characters, especially the one with himself.
That's a top secret UMA. I'm taking you in. Huh, not a bad impersonation for a UMA.
And also in all the victory animations, I think the alien or someone else calls him right as his opponent is being abducted. And then he turns around and wonders how they left so fast. Some other funny interactions that happen is Gold Lewis calling Eddie, which is basically Zato 1's symbiote, an interesting pet.
Huh, that's a strange pet you got there.
And he also thinks Faust, who was a highly respected surgeon, is an unidentified mysterious animal.
Classified UMA encountered. Preparing to capture.
But to be fair, I would probably think anyone who even looks remotely close to Faust was a UMA as well. I want to mention today's sponsor, BenQ. If you're like me and you spend a lot of time on the computer, whether it's gaming, work, or maybe even editing like I'm doing right now, it can get late. And having the monitor as your only source of light isn't the best. But the BenQ screen bar is a nice addition to your setup. It uses touch control so you don't have to worry about switches or controllers, and you can adjust the brightness and temperature accordingly. The people over at BenQ were nice enough to actually send me one for free, but I'll still give my honest opinion on it. I've been using it for a couple weeks now and I can say that the build quality is very nice. You don't need a wall plug, it's just all USB, so you can plug it straight into your PC and it works right away. I'm surprised there isn't any glare when using the light, even at full brightness. That was something that I was worried about, but you can still see everything completely fine. And it also is a bit expensive. It's about $100 US, but honestly the quality of it is really nice, and if you use a computer a lot, you'll end up getting a lot of use out of it. It doesn't take up any extra space, and it's nice that you can actually see what you're typing or clicking on at night. Like I said before, thank you to BenQ, and I hope you guys enjoyed the rest of this video. In the platform fighter genre, I feel like you have a lot more room to implement unique attacks because of how much space the characters have. You have these blast zones where you die if you fall into them, and instead of having health, your knockback percentage increases the more you get hit, making it easier for your opponent to hit you into the blast zone. Let's look at MultiVersus for example. You got Bugs Bunny who can dig a tunnel, which acts like a portal for himself and items. Then there's Tom and Jerry who basically fight each other the whole time, which is a nice touch. But I want to focus on Velma. Velma's weapon is her voice. She literally talks you to death, and when she gets enough clues, her ult is snitching on you to the police. Like, what? Imagine being the opponent just watching yourself get arrested and then driven off a cliff into the blast zone. It's just ridiculous. In Samurai Shodown, there's a character named Wan Fu who yields a giant pillar. Yep, that's it. It's just a giant pillar. There's not really much to be said, it's pretty straightforward. Occasionally he'll drop the pillar and grab you, but other than that, he pretty much just spins it around like a Beyblade. Originally, Wan Fu didn't always have a pillar. In the first iteration of Samurai Shodown, he had a sword, which you probably could have guessed by the name of the game. Although most characters in the series had swords, not all of them do. For example, and I'm gonna butcher this name, I'm sorry in advance, Caffeine. His weapon of choice was a necklace with giant beads. He basically beats you up while being stylish at the same time. Honestly, I don't even know what just happened. Did this man take all of his health with one move? All of the other moves didn't do any damage, but the final hit took everything? Anyways, he's a grappler, and for one of his moves, he grabs you with his beads, and also spins you like a Beyblade. I'm starting to see a trend here. Moving on to Street Fighter, but let's talk about Street Fighter's newest character. If you've seen any of the promotional trailers for Street Fighter 6, you know that Capcom just announced Juri and a new character named Kimberly. Kimberly's moveset is very similar to Guy's, especially comparing both of their special moves and grabs. But what makes Kimberly really cool is the special properties you get with the spray paint. You're able to teleport by hiding yourself in the spray paint, and this allows you to dodge projectiles while still advancing closer towards your opponent. You can also use the spray can as a trap for set play, either putting the spray can right under them or even behind them to allow for all sorts of punishes. You will have to use your resources wisely though, as you have to stock up your spray cans, and doing so could leave you vulnerable. So yeah, those are some interesting weapons in fighting games. I think the weapon that's the closest to being normal on this list would be the yo-yo. Just because it's something we've seen in the past with other characters in video games and anime, but it's not something we necessarily see in fighting games all the time. The only characters that come to mind besides Bridget are Ness from Smash Bros, Madeline from King of Fighters, and Yoko from Air Guys. And on the other side, I think the most interesting and unique weapon was the spray cans. But let me know what you guys think. What was your favorite character or weapon on this list? Also let me know in the comments what characters you think should have been on this list. If you're new to the channel and you enjoyed this video, make sure to like and subscribe. And if you want to support the channel, you can become a member. And if you want extra behind the scenes content and other perks, make sure to head over to my Patreon. As always, follow the Twitch and Twitter, and I hope you guys have a great day. Peace.